today we've got the carers out in the breakout session. We now actually have the first of two panels. So I'm going to call to the stage this panel is all about wish I had known earlier. Wish I'd known earlier. So our expert panel are today JoshDavis, Bruce Baines, Simon Prentice, and Dr. Chris Padam. Are they here? Yeah. Oh, over. Come up, gentlemen, please, because I'm going to get each of you to introduce yourselves. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So Bruce, I know, and then anyway, we'll get We might just, what we're going to do over the next 25 minutes with this panel, talking about wish I had known earlier, I might just actually get each of you just to take 5 minutes at the start to, a couple of minutes at the start just to introduce yourself and where you are from, if that's okay. Do you want to start down there, Bruce, with you? We'll go left to right.
Yep, we're all good. Bruce Baines. I started a business called Sage Care Advice. I started this business probably about 9 years ago, but my first aged care client, so I'm a financial advisor that we have a business that we exclusively provide financial advice for people going into residential aged care. It's a bit of a minefield, and with these November 1st changes, it's going to be more complicated. The reason Sage Care came about was I'm very familiar with Parkinson's. My dad had Parkinson's for 37 years. From age 42 with 2 hemorrhages on the brain, Mum was his carer for 30 years. And then we lost Mum to ovarian cancer. And partly that was the reason last year we did a sponsorship on the community radio to say thank you to the carers, because you carers are the heroes that don't wear capes, so well done to all of you. But I just saw the need, because I knew what I was doing. I knew my Centrelink rules, I knew my superannuation, I knew the aged care rules, which back then were very straightforward in reflection. But I just knew that it's a hand-holding exercise. So speaking of hand-holding, sorry, I actually led you down the garden path saying you had 3 minutes. I've just been told you have 1 minute to talk about. So, okay, so Simon has no time, so I'll pass to the other person. Oh, sorry, Bruce. Sorry, Simon. And don't worry, we'll make up time, please.
No worries. My name's Simon Prentice. I'm the community engagement lead for the Sunshine Coast area for Blue Care. I come from a strong care management background, working with older people in the community, managing their packages, managing the people that manage their home care packages. I came to this industry as a choice. I was working in community operations for many multinational companies. I moved to the Sunshine Coast and really needed to feel that I was doing something good at the end of the day. So really, through moving into the aged care industry, I've really found that passion, and can always say at the end of the day, something is better than how I left it.
My name's Chris. I'm one of the respiratory and sleep physicians here in the Sunshine Coast. I work both through Queensland Health and at Sunshine Coast Respiratory and Sleep. Probably had a convoluted route to Queensland, originally growing up in Perth and then up through Cairns, but really come to find Sunshine Coast my home now, especially with my partner. So there's things I enjoy about sleep, and particularly sleep in connection with neurological disorders as well, is you can improve aspects of people's life, and I think that's one, rewarding for both the person that you're seeing and being slightly selfish, self as a practitioner as well, and I find that really rewarding. And it's good to see more engagement, particularly with people's sleep health as the years go by.
So are you actually a doctor of sleep?
Yeah, technically, I suppose.
Wow, the importance of sleep, hey? Yeah. And also, Josh, sorry, would you just introduce yourself?
Sure, hi everybody. My name's JoshDavis. I'm with Pesticide Action Australia. Pesticide Action Australia is a not-for-profit charity that's dedicated to reducing the harm being caused by pesticides, harm to health and to the environment. We've formed with really a purpose to share the evidence base. Pesticide exposure is a key contributor to Parkinson's disease and many other chronic health conditions, and it also is causing a lot of environmental harm around the country. So thanks very much for the invitation to join, and also wanted to acknowledge the Gubbi people of the traditional lands. Thank you.
So Josh, while you have the microphone, and given that the topic of this expert panel is wish I had known earlier, what do you wish you'd known when your family began this journey? So into pesticides and into down that slippery slope. Like I'm a farmer's daughter, so that was quite scary listening to, Professor Gordon before about the harm of pesticides, etc. But what do you wish you had known earlier?
There are some fantastic neurologists around the world who I'm reading and listening to, and I'd really encourage you all to. And I'm sure many of these names are well known to you. Professor Bastian Bloem from the Netherlands, Dr. Ray Dorsey and Dr. Michael Oken, amongst many others. Their key message that they're sharing at the moment is that Parkinson's disease is a man-made preventable disease. And Professor Bastian Bloem says the tragedy is we are not investing in prevention. We are spending a lot of time and money in treatment, and that is not commensurate with prevention investment. And if we can accept as a room and as a community and as an Australian society that Parkinson's disease is preventable, we must then take action to try to start preventing this. And they will speak to this. And I just encourage you, listen to the neurologists, not to people like me. Go and find this out yourself. But Professor Bastian Bloem, for instance, said if he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he's a world-leading expert, there's two things he'd do. One, immediately, two things he'd do. One, exercise as fast as you can and as long as you can physically. Secondly, reduce your exposures to toxins that are going to continue to harm your neurons. So start protecting those, and then also, start advocating. He's a big one on speak up, advocate. I'll stop there because I know there's plenty more I could talk about, but I'll leave it to the other people.
So just what do you do at home to reduce your toxins? Do you sort of there's no more spray can, anything, it's all natural ingredients?
I guess there's two things here to think about. One is the regulatory and the systemic exposure.
Yep.
And then there's the individual responsibility. Sometimes I think it's quite unfair to put it onto people to have it their responsibility to avoid pesticides which have been banned for 40, 50, 60 years overseas. And then Australians, we're being asked, get a water filter, wash your fruit and veg. This is all good advice, Avoid your exposure, don't spray at home. That's all true, and we should all do that. And I do that, particularly for my young children. Trying to eat as much organic as we can afford and as we can. Washing, things as much as we can. That's all good advice, and I would encourage you all to do it. And again, I'd encourage you all, there's a new book coming out called The Pesticide Plan from Dr. Dorsey and Dr. Oken. It's coming out in Australia in a couple of months. They've got 25 suggestions of what individuals can do.
Okay.
However, there's also the regulatory system that we are advocating needs reform, because paraquat, for instance, was banned in Sweden in 1983. Switzerland, who owned Syngenta, the company who manufactured paraquat, they banned paraquat in 1989. They don't let it be used on their own people. They export it to countries like Australia. There are systemic issues. Australia is the only country in the OECD whose federal pesticide regulator is funded to 88% by pesticide companies.
Oops.
There is a systemic conflict of interest at the heart of the regulatory system. It's called cost recovery model. It's the only model like this in the OECD. So there's regulatory reform that we're calling for, as well as individual responsibility. So definitely, if you've got Parkinson's, protect as much as you can. My dad's got Parkinson's, so we're practicing this as well. My grandmother died with Parkinson's. But yet, I still don't think that I will necessarily get it, because according to Dr. Dorsey, 85% of people who are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease have no genetic predisposition. 85% have no genetic predisposition, according to some of the top neurologists in the world. So why don't we focus then, our 85% of research, on preventing this? 2 cents out of every $1 that's spent on Parkinson's research and neurodegenerative diseases, only 2 cents is spent on prevention. 98 cents then of every dollar is in treatment. But if I can go back to my original point, and I'll finish up there. If we can accept Parkinson's disease is preventable, and if we accept the top international expert opinion on this, based on decades and decades and decades of evidence, then I think we can start investing in that and making change and stopping this 4%, 5% rise in incidence per year in Australia. Because the projections match pesticide sales and usage in Australia. And it's not that simple, of course it's not. There's other chemicals, there's plenty of other pollutants, air pollution, concussion and head traumas, trichloroethylene, we know these. PFAS is an emerging contaminant. There's plenty of other contributors to Parkinson's. Pesticides is a key contributor.
Yeah, we were just talking about it before. Dr. Chris, from your incredible breadth of experience, what major concerns do you see affecting us at the moment?
In particular with Parkinson's disease, I think in years past, sleep was kind of viewed as collateral damage, as in something, neurodegenerative process mainly affecting motor and cognition, and sleep was just something that happened and was kind of destroyed along the way. I think as we move through medicine, we begin to focus more on what's important to the patient and what's important to how they feel during the day. And to kind of go on a sidetrack, why do we sleep? We sleep to feel rejuvenated for the next day. Like we don't know why we sleep, we don't know how we sleep, but that seems to be the biological purpose. And there are many things that can impact on someone's sleep in Parkinson's disease, as well as just life itself. And I think, going forward, optimising and more closely scrutinising this, and there's just really a paucity of evidence around treatments of, Parkinson's specific sleep conditions such as REM behaviour disorder. All the studies are observational, and, a lot of these things really lack good quality controlled evidence and have significant impacts on people's lives, and that's where I feel worried for the future as well. But also there is a gap that can be filled and something that can be looked into more. I think the thing that always concerns me with Parkinson's disease and Parkinsonism with sleep is particularly REM behaviour disorder. It's often something that creeps in early in the piece, can be a prodrome 10 years before the motor symptoms of Parkinson's come through, and probably under-recognised. And then with the cacophony of symptoms that come with Parkinsonism and Parkinson's disease, you can kind of get lost through the weeds, but obviously this is where I see people, and you can see quite significant injuries that may or may not have been preventable, and may have been preventable with quite simple remedies, things like bed safety, changing the layout of the room, and not necessarily medications, but sometimes those too. And so that's where I kind of worry about Parkinson's disease and sleep, and then also where I see the future for it too. I also think common things are common, especially as you get older. Insomnia is common, will impact on how you feel through the day. Pain, and then pain as well with Parkinson's, like we were talking about before, will all impact on your sleep. And the idea that sleep itself is not in isolation, sleep itself is a broader picture of whatever everything else is going on in your life, beyond just Parkinson's disease, your social circles like we were talking about before. I think that highlighting a holistic approach is where I see it.
Simon, tell us a little bit about what you wish you knew before, given the industry, the care industry, and how large it is, how crazy busy it is. What do you wish you knew before?
It's a good question. Look, I think I can probably reframe this a bit more for the audience around what I would like to share with them about what I wish that they knew earlier, because it's a very complicated industry.
Yeah.
The keys are getting into the system early, early intervention into health concerns that can make or break your journey through the aged care system. Remembering that at the moment there's currently a 12-month wait to get access to funding. With the changes coming, the government is aiming to reduce that down to 3 months by 2027. However, it's a long journey. It is a long journey, and so getting into the system early, intervening early, and implementing clinical care a lot earlier is key to that. So engaging your physiotherapists, your occupational therapy, having regular nursing checks, it's what will make or break and keep you at home as long as possible. And the government's gone a long way with the new support at home model that's coming at the end of this month to actually address that, so there's no co-payment for anyone under that scheme for those clinical services, which will encourage people to use that. There's minimal rollover of funds between funding periods, so that means that people are actually going to want to use that funding and not save it for a rainy day. The other thing that can be implemented through the new program is the assistive technology and home modifications are available when you need them up front, rather than having to sit there and save your funds for a rainy day to actually access those services. You can access that up front and get the support that you need when you need it.
Thank you, Simon. So, Bruce, from the finance and planning side, the one thing you most want families to understand early on. So we just heard from Simon, there's a 12-month wait, get in early, start the process early. From your point of view?
To sum it up, I'd say get all your ducks in a row. The biggest issue that we see when we have, especially an elderly client come along to see us, they don't have an enduring power of attorney in place for that person that has lost capacity to be able to act for themselves. Now, I had a client in December 23, I think it was. This fellow was 95 years of age and he was very switched on. His wife was 95 and a half and he was organising her care, and she had lacked that capacity to act for herself. And I asked him about the enduring power of attorney. And he said, we've been married, and this is our record, by the way, 72 years.
Wow.
He said, I already know what my wife wants. And I had to say to him, unfortunately, that's not how the law looks at it. And if you don't have that enduring power of attorney in place, it's a very stressful road through QCAT, the Queensland Civil Administrative Tribunal, where you as the partner or one of your children or that makes application to be appointed to that role to look after that person for their health, for guardianship, or for their finances for administration. So my message to everybody today is make sure you have your enduring power of attorney and make sure it's in order. And when I say that, if you've got 3 children and the solicitor said to you, we should have all jointly the power of attorney, and one of them lives in Amsterdam, it's not going to work. So you need to make those changes before something happens. Now, I don't want to scare you, but over 80% of admissions into residential aged care, which we used to call nursing homes, they're more like park cruise ships, I'm happy to say. Over 80% of admissions are not planned. They're from two things, a stroke or a fall.
Oh, wow.
Anybody hear of falls risk?
Wow.
I know what Parkinson, I've got a few fingers going up like me, I am. I know what Parkinson is, how it is with the falls risk and the freezing and the turning and the falling backwards. My dad was an expert at it. But I would just say to everybody, companies like ours or the knowledge of these people and that, use it. Go and take advantage of it and get all your ducks in a row so that should something happen, you're not going to be stressed by that. You'll know what to do and you'll know that everything's in order.
So shouldn't that just be something everyone has?
Absolutely. A lot of people say, yeah, we've got our wills in place. Your will only comes into play when you're no longer here.
Right.
Your enduring power of attorney is like your living will. This is what I want to happen. It's like your statement of choices for the hospital, or it's like your advanced, what do you call it? Health directive. It's essential. And it's essential that you have it and you know where to find it because it can be instant.
Bruce, how much does an enduring power of attorney cost to effect?
I know that solicitors will do it anywhere between $250 and $600. Or you can go to a JP. It's a Form 2 that you download from the internet. You can go to a JP and have them witness it. Don't sign it and then take it to the JP. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
They're witnessing your signature. So, but everybody has, and I'm listening to the panel up here, everybody has their knowledge in a certain area. This is your future for care, for your finances, for making sure you don't have to sell the home, that you're still going to get your Centrelink and all that. Go and spend the dollars on a solicitor and get the right advice. I absolutely, every talk I do, I talk all about the cost of care and the changes and all that. My message is always get your enduring power of attorney in place. It's the most stressful thing if you don't.
Chris, can I just ask you, where did you say your practice? Is it a practice?
Yeah, so I work through the Sunshine Coast Hospital, as well as Sunshine Coast Respiratory and Sleep, which is just, a couple hundred metres away from there, down in Vitality Village in Batinia.
Okay.
I just want to second your point. It's so important, the enduring power of attorney, and someone who's, practical as well, not someone living in Amsterdam, and someone who you believe not wants the best for you necessarily, but understands what you would want for you in any given situation, whether that's one person or three people. I mean, I can think of countless times in hospital where it's caused undue stress and, fractured relationships between families. And if it's there and you never have to use it, great. But if it's there and you need it, even better.
Josh, can I just ask you what your official title is? Sorry. Like, how do you... My name is Josh, I am...
Well, I'm the founder of PAA.
PAA?
Yeah, Pesticide Action Australia. And we've got a team of people, we've got a board, and my wife and I founded this because we were community campaigning. My wife was pregnant at the time, and I had a 2-year-old daughter who's now 3, so this was about a year and a bit ago. We lived next to some internationally protected wetlands where we were exposed to spray drift, and it was next to a school kids walking through it. We had asked for some pretty basic things like signage and just let us know if you're going to spray. We were looking around for some support, and there wasn't any in terms of a dedicated charity focused on pesticides. So we then said, okay, maybe we can start up not-for-profit. So the title is still to be determined. Like, we've been volunteering for now, but yeah, we are looking to just promote the science. So I don't really have a title per se. Founder or CEO or something like that. But our focus is on community advocates and communities taking responsibility and individuals and us supporting them. It's not so much about PAA imposing what people should do. It's more about us sharing that evidence, particularly contrasting it with international jurisdictions who are operating a little bit differently. And yeah.
Are you from a farming background?
No, I'm not.
What did you do prior to PAA?
I have worked in humanitarian work. I've worked for the Red Cross and Country Fire Authority as well. So I've worked in, regional and rural communities. There's been estimates that up to 40% of Australia's Parkinson's disease incidence is in remote and rural communities. The Australian population, from the last estimate I saw, is something like 13% is living in remote and rural communities. So this is still to be studied, this type of incidence rate, and I think it's quite difficult to get that incidence rates as well. However, it is looking anecdotally that it's 3 to 4 times the incidence rates in regional and rural Australia. Now you've got to ask yourself why. Why is that happening? And you start following those questions, and that's what we've been doing. Why?
So why does it, in your opinion, why?
The title of the organisation, I think, is
Pesticide.
indicative. I think it is not a problem that it's not because of farmers. Like Australia has this model. It's called the risk-based model, which means the regulators approve chemicals into the market, and then the risk has to be managed by applicators.
Right.
Which is then putting the responsibility and the harm onto applicators, onto farmers themselves, to have to manage their own risk. In the UK and the EU, by contrast, there's what's called a hazard-based model, which is that these chemicals are deemed to be unsafe. They're not safe to be used. So don't release them into the market unless you can demonstrate that they are safe.
Which is logical, is it not?
Which we consider to be a logical approach, which is then protecting the individuals, protecting farmers, protecting applicators, protecting people in the home who are spraying. Now, how that translates into practice is that in Australia we've banned, as a country, 24 pesticides. In the UK and the EU, they've banned 225.
Oh gosh, 10%.
So we're using 200 odd extra hazardous pesticides, and pesticides which have been found, they've been found to be harmful. We're still using them here in this country. So these are the systemic issues that we're looking at, and then at a level closer to us, we're also trying to share this evidence about, like, the golf course example, for instance. You live within 1.6 kilometres of a golf course, you're 2.25 times more likely to get Parkinson's disease. So while I heard Barbara say before, play golf, play on different courses. Yeah, play golf. I play golf. I love golf. My dad played golf all the time. I grew up on a golf course. We used to always go and play. Now I look back and think, geez.
But it wouldn't just be golf, it'd be bowling lawns, it'd be, that'd be the same, wouldn't it?
Look, school grounds, public parks, you can get play equipment. Commercial turf uses chlorpyrifos often. Okay, chlorpyrifos has been found by the American Academy of Paediatricians to lower childhood IQ, to shorten gestation periods, to induce more birth defects. Chlorpyrifos is a highly hazardous pesticide that needs to go. It needs to be taken off the shelf, according to paediatricians in the US. Now, we spray that on turf. Who rolls around on turf? Kids on ovals, playing footy or whatever other sport. And then if you combine, say, head trauma, head knocks, with pesticide exposure, you've also you're magnifying the impact.
Oh my gosh. All right. On this stage at the moment, we've got 4 incredibly knowledgeable people. We've got pesticides, sleep, care and finance. We've got 10 minutes for as many questions as you can fire at them if you so wish. So already down the back, hands shooting up.
My name's Barbara. I just wanted to ask Josh, what about mortine spray and what about insect repellents that you put on for insects?
Like as in you mean Aerogard?
I'm not sure about Aerogard. I haven't looked into that. Home use of... So I probably should have said at the start, the term pesticides is an umbrella term, right?
Yep.
And it includes insecticides, herbicides, rodenticides, fungicides.
Oh.
So it's the broad term. I have read that some international consortium of childhood leukemia and cancer groups have said the use of pesticides, so including the sprays, or spraying for cockroaches or spraying for termites or so on, the use of that has been demonstrated in some research to increase rates of childhood leukemia and other health issues. So our position would be read up on this, minimise the use of pesticides as much as practical. It's our role also to help. We think the government should help transition away from certain pesticides and encourage people to move away. But at the same time, we recognise that there's evidence that needs to be presented, and then people should make informed decisions based on that evidence. We don't want to have individual blame here, and we really want to support people to make informed decisions.
Well, that lovely lady who just asked that question, I did read on the weekend that if you burn rosemary, that is a very good deterrent for mosquitoes and flies. So, and that's a natural. Sorry, question here
Yes.
with Chris, yep.
A couple of questions, if I may. First of all, I'd like to ask Josh, supermarket produce that's labelled organic, can we rely on that being pesticide-free?
No. Australia has another problem with that it's organic. What is determined to be organic in Australia still, there's variation around that. And I think something like only 5% of the product needs to be organic for it to be labelled organic, and there's different standards. So if you buy from supermarkets, which we all do, whether it's organic or not organic, we should still wash thoroughly, we should still take some, and again, listen to Dr. Ray Dorsey and so on for how he does this. Now, that's one point. The other point I would make is that it's not comparable. Organic and non-organic, we can't put them in the same category. There's a spectrum. So if we can move more and more towards organic, that would be better for our health, or other forms of pesticide-free. But there's still work to do in terms of Australian regulatory definitions of organic. Some organics do not use pesticides at all. So we have to go and do a little bit more research. One of the things that we're calling for, though, is that pesticides should be labelled. It's harder to get an organic certification than it is to actually label the toxic chemicals that you're using in intensive agriculture or horticulture. There should be government support, according to us, to transition people more towards pesticide-free, towards organic, and have targets to reduce pesticide use, and supermarkets play a role. If I could make one more point, in the UK, for instance, supermarkets like Tesco and Marks and Spencer's have got their own pesticide policies where they won't allow certain pesticides to be used through the supply chain. We don't have that in Australia. We don't even have labelling. So I would encourage people to move more and more towards organic if you can. However, still wash that fruit and veg, because it is possible that they may still have pesticide residues. However, they will be far lower than your conventional non-organic produce. Does that answer your question?
Thanks, Josh. Thank you, Josh. And for Chris, please, how can I improve the quality of my sleep?
If I could give you a short answer on that, I probably wouldn't have a job. how I approach sleep, kind of like I mentioned before, it's about everything in your life. It's not just, oh, if my sleep was fine, everything else would be fine. It's typically actually how I see it the other way around, although the sleep is the presenting problem. The way I look to optimise sleep, or what, how I talk to people about it, is like, what are the factors that you think are impacting on your sleep? Is it pain? Is it movements at night? Is it acting out your dreams? Is your partner getting up 15,000 times? Or is your partner just worried about you? Are you worried about something? Are you thinking? Is your mind wandering? You know, all of these aspects. And I think rather than making broad brush statements, to say that it's more about the individual and what makes you you is to how to optimise your sleep. I'm being purposely evasive because there's no surefire way, but it's about a discussion to think what is possible and where we can improve things.
Question down the back?
Yes.
In the middle, sorry.
Yeah, Warren Lee again. Talking about defoliants in Vietnam, use of defoliants. I know myself and a number of other people were exposed to defoliants in Vietnam, and when they come home, people, even since they come home, you go to governments and talk about defoliants, and they don't want to know you. What do you suggest?
I'd say that's for you, Josh. Me personally, squeaky wheel. Squeaky wheel gets the, care, don't they? It gets the ear eventually. You just got to keep. But is something you would suggest, Josh?
We're looking for that answer of how to enact change in this country. We're looking for that. So we do believe in community advocacy. We do believe that there is a wealth of knowledge and expertise around the country that we want to support and harness and work alongside and collaborate with. We believe there's a strong need for, as Professor Bastian Bloom says, for people to become advocates, activists. And we need academics to step up. I'm relying on international neurologists here. Where are the Australian neurologists who are up on the stage? There should be an Australian neurologist in this seat instead of me, who's prepared to speak to the evidence, because they are the experts. Now, there's reasons why they're not. There's funding models around universities and reasons why they're not as comfortable to speak to this, which is why we think PAA needs to step into some of that space. But we do think that there is an underground momentum, an underground support of people who are being personally impacted, and unfortunately, like for Parkinson's disease and so on, that those numbers of people affected are only going to grow. And it's not just Parkinson's. Australia's got the highest rates of bowel cancer in the world under 50. We've got the highest rates of childhood leukemia, highest rates of cancer, highest rates of breast cancer.
What?
Have a look at online, like at the World Health Organization's stats. We have across different types of health outcomes, Australia is performing really poorly on many of them. Many of these are linked with pesticide exposure, as well as other contaminants and other reasons. It's not just pesticides at all. However, I'll give you an example. Breast Cancer UK have on their website a section presenting the evidence between pesticide exposure and increased rates of breast cancer. Australia's got the highest rates of breast cancer in the world. So we're trying to make these connections and then work with community advocates and say, if you're being ignored, if you're being gaslit here, have the courage to research it yourself and hold your ground and speak to the evidence. Find the evidence online, it's all available, and present and push back some of the times where we're being told there's nothing to see here.
Josh, are you outside? Have you got a stool outside?
I should have said that. Please come, anybody who's got further questions, or I've already spoken to many people who have personally impacted and sharing their stories. And
That gentleman.
I very much thank you for your courage in sharing that. Please come and speak to me afterwards. I'll be here all day.
Perfect, as all of our panellists will. Sorry, question, the front here.
Just a quick question for you, Josh. I'm a Parkinson's sufferer and also a golfer and also live within 1.6 kilometres of golf course.
Oh, boom, boom.
So do you have any practical suggestions as to how someone in my situation might, apart from giving up golf and moving house?
And keeping your handicap. Look, there's a growing movement around the world of pesticide-free golf courses. So there's a recognition of this. Practical steps are up to you. I would, if I was in your case, you start with what you can control. So again, you're looking at water filters, because that research, and you look at it yourself, because it's really quite interesting. Within 3 miles, once you get closer from 3 miles, it's starting to be dose dependent, which is the closer you get, the higher your chances of getting Parkinson's. And that was both because of spray drift, and also it's leaching into the water supplies. So water filters, speak to the golf course themselves, raise this. Many of us in this room will be golfers.
Yeah.
Raise it with your club and say, look, have you seen this evidence? Either with people with Parkinson's, you'd protect yourself and protect those healthy neurons that we're trying to protect. And you're all working so hard to protect that. And I see it in my dad.
Parkinson's, it's, you said bowel cancer and breast cancer and all these other things as well.
Yeah. So speak to the golf club, see what they can do and start the conversation. I think that's a good start. Most of them won't know of that, I don't think. Most of them in Australia wouldn't know of that research, so share that. Secondly, I'd be encouraging water filters and air purifiers for those within that period, that distance.
And I'm just going to, sorry, Josh, I've just got 2 online questions that have come through, and one is for Bruce. Bruce, could you just summarise the changes coming in November? You alluded to it before. There's all these changes, the complexity, etc. What are the changes?
Sorry, Simon's giving me a big smile because he knows I can't do that. Because can I say to you that last year the government spent $26 billion on aged care. If the government didn't look to make the changes to this new Aged Care Act that comes out on the 1st of November, they thought that would increase to $42 million within the next 5 years. $42 billion. So basically, we can't afford it. So part of the new Aged Care Act will require that if you have the means to pay more, you will pay more. I do have some good news. Can I just get you to put your hand up if you're on a home care package already? There'd be a lot of people here. Leave your hand up if you were on that package at the 12th of September 2024.
Last year, September.
Last year. You are I would call you a unicorn, but we call you a hybrid client. So if you go into residential care after the 1st of November, you will not be subject to all the new rules. The only rules that will affect you will be in regard to your accommodation. So the government, as Simon spoke about earlier, the government is fully committed to paying for the clinical side of somebody needing care, whether that be at home or in residence. But all the others, they're saying if you can afford it, you can pay it. Please know that if you have very little assets, or if you're a couple and besides your home you only have a certain amount of assets, don't go trying to put off that we can't afford care. Katie, who's here with me today, her favourite saying is aged care is affordable to everyone. And she's so correct. My favourite saying is you don't know what you don't know. Josh, I didn't know half of this stuff. My wife, I'm going home to give her a big hug and say, thanks for telling me not to use, and I don't want to say the names in case I get sued, but she makes me buy the more expensive eco one. Yeah. And I'm going, okay, I have to use it twice as much, but I'm really pleased now. So, yeah, I'd just say if you're unsure, and like you can go to places like our website, we have an e-book, electronic book, Download it free.
And just what's your website?
It's just sagecareadvice.com.au.
And sage as in the herb, S-A-G-E.
No, sage is in the wise advice.
Oh, sage advice.
I thought
I
about
write
this.
cookbooks. I go straight to the food. Sorry.
There you go.
Okay, we've got time for one more question, and it is for Simon. Simon, what do you see as the number one issue with stay-at-home care? Hard to pinpoint to one, but the number one issue.
Look, number one issue I would say would be a little bit what I was talking about before, in that people often put their day-to-day living needs ahead of what's going to get them ahead in the long run. So people put off having regular nursing services, clinical services, in favour of having someone come and do their ironing, having someone clean their house. These things, you really need to have someone that can advise you on that from a care partner perspective, from a provider perspective, to make the best choices for you. Listen to the clinical advice. They're not there to be over the top and to try and get you to do things that you don't want to, but listen to the advice of the specialist within that field, because too often we see it that people end up having falls because they were prioritising their domestic assistance, their cleaner, or their going out, which is definitely it's definitely a priority. But if you haven't got those clinical basics and you end up falling, then who knows where you're going to end up, and you may need Bruce's services for that. Okay.
Yeah. Alrighty. So each of you are going to be out in the foyer through lunch. So that was really mind-blowing. So many statistics running, 80% of all, what did you say? 80% of all admissions to care are from falls and strokes. Oh my gosh. So look, there's a load, as Rory said earlier, there's 34 exhibitors out in the foyer. It is now, we're going to break for 1 hour for lunch. There's a fashion parade happening, gentlemen. Aren't you lucky, hey? Aren't you lucky being here today? Don't forget to get your stamps as well, and return them to the reception just around the corner, because we do have that lucky prize, which I told you before was $1,350 donated by our good friends from Coastline BMW. The Marucci RSL have added a $200 dinner voucher to that as well. So the lucky door prize now is worth over $1,500. So make sure you get all your stamps in the right boxes, return that, and there's a questionnaire in the middle of your table. Please fill that out and return it as well, because that beautiful big hamper here in the blue cylinder with white spots will be that will be for one lucky person who completes that questionnaire. All right, beautiful people, that's been a fantastic morning. Time for a little break. Go learn lots of stuff. Go talk to people. And remember, social connection equals brain protection. 4 very important words. Thanks, everyone. And thanks so much to this amazing panel. Big round of applause, please. For Josh, Bruce, Simon, and Chris.